So I'd like to introduce Eileen Robertson Hammer.
Writing the book was definitely a labor of love. I can share all day about the way I grew even in writing. So all those budding writers out there, it really is a healing experience. It's a gift. It's a gift to you, and then it's a gift when others read it. And everything that I knew who I was up until that point in an instant changed, right? I went from being a wife to a widow. I went from being in partnership with someone raising my children to being a single mother overnight. And so the identity, who I knew myself to be was not even possible. There's always possibility. There's always, it's like those lowest points, if you just look up, right, and be where you are, there's possibility. It's not easy, it was not easy, but everywhere I looked, there was people pulling me. There was love, there was opportunities, there was space for me to just be not good. Everything that I needed at the time so that I could rise. There's women that have lost their children to gun violence, and they are advocating passionately about how do we bring our community up and create resources. By the way, that's why I want you all to know. There's head of Excel academies, there's all kinds of amazing human beings here. And he wasn't saying, I miss daddy. He wasn't saying, I don't feel safe. He wasn't saying any of that. He was just pissed. And his anger was coming out in these manifested ways. And, if people had not known what he was dealing with, they would have been 4-year-old, psychotic. That's what he would have been labeled today, 4-year-old psychotic. I'm trying to figure it out because that's what we do, right? And that's what I do. I'm I'm MBA in finance, right? I know how to figure stuff out. I have a computer science. I know how to figure things out, and I could not figure this out in the normal way that I know how to figure shit out. And I just had this epiphany, and I was just love him. That's all you have to do. Bring him home and love him. And I just sat with him and I was like, oh my God, that kid is trying to push me to see if I'll stay.
And he didn't leave.
No, he wants to kill me with all his words, and he sat right next to me.
Yeah.
Kept not moving. I'm like, you were not moving.
He
If you were,
he didn't
you're
stop
that
out
mad.
of the room. He didn't, no.
Sat right on the couch with me, and I was like, oh my God, thank you, Max. And I finally got it. I was like, this is love. This is love. This is what it looks like. We think it looks like, oh, I love you, mommy. No, he was teaching me love. My biggest spiritual teachers have been my children. And that was just one example of him okay, mama, you need to learn to love me unconditionally, because I'm not always gonna be, I love you, mommy, and so cute, and whatever. So it was beautiful. About grieving and grieving through time, and people are like, oh, you'll get over it, or whatever, you'll move on, and everybody knows that's not real. But I wanted to kind of share one of my learnings about that, and Max is a really good example of that. And it's really easy to see in children, because children, as they grow, right, he was 4, and he grieved as a 4-year-old would grieve, and then they turn 6, and then they turn whatever they turn, right? And Melanie and Brooke, they are both in university now, and when they were, towards the end of high school, grief came back up for them because, I want my dad's advice. I can't get my dad's advice. For Max, we were very lucky and had another child, and Max had never made the connection, because he was young, that wasn't his dad. He just replaced, I lost a ball, I got a new ball, great, problem is solved. And he called him dad, wanted to have him as dad. The girls called him Mike, and Max called him dad. And then we had Matt, and then we had Zach. And all of a sudden, and it went dark. It wasn't oh, he got a little sad. No, he got really sad. And again, because of his developmental age, and he couldn't put the words to it. It took a lot of therapy and a lot of work, and finally he said one time, he's like, Mike's changed. Like, I don't want to call Mike anymore. I don't want to call Mike Dad anymore. I want to call him Mike and whatever, struggle. And finally I was like, oh my God, like that's this grief. Well, he's now figured out that he lost his real dad. And he's like 9. And he's like, you guys have all moved on. Like, what's wrong with you? It's really obvious and clear with children, but there are people that it's the same thing. I have like my new husband. So like holding that, like there's not a lot of books on like, how do you have 2 husbands that you love? How do I honor him and honor our relationship and honor Mike? Pain takes us out of the moment. So much of transformation, anything, is being in the moment. When you are in pain, we humans want to get the hell out. And we're looking for the way out. And there's so many ways we do that. And it doesn't even have to be big pain. It can be little pain. Shop, drink, distract, watch TV, watch endless Netflix. And I'm not saying any of that is bad in and of itself, but when we're avoiding the pain, and this is like the good news, bad news of being human, right? The pain is where the love comes from. And it sucks. It's like you don't get stronger unless you flex your muscles and it hurts your muscles, right? You don't grow and develop unless you're willing to go through the pain. And going through the pain, depending on the pain, is really, really hard. But you have to be there in the moment and not distract us. Because if you keep getting distracted, you're going to stay lost. Because the path, and this is what's so amazing, the path is right in front of you. We get so frazzled about figuring it out that we don't stay where we are. And if we just stay where we are, all the answers are right there. He was never mine. I got the privilege of journeying for a while with him. So that song says something like, there's 8, whatever number of seconds in a day, you can live it or you can throw it all away. We're out there, thinking we need other things when we can make a feast from these crumbs. It's like so Brian. And then 1 minute into the song, it says, what if your plane fell out of the sky? And I was like, holy camole. Okay, so that would be why the book is Time to Fly. I could ever have imagined that my name would be Eileen Robertson Hamra. No way. And so I'm inviting you. I'm hoping that you see something for yourself in this conversation. Like there's something that you want, that is something that maybe you've been afraid to do, something that's occurred for you now. Like you want to write that book, that you want to start that business, that you need to repair that relationship. Whatever you see for yourself, write that down, because declaring it, right? Like declaring it is the very first step.